It's a good question. I mean, I think that pretty wide ranging. I guess I can pick and choose from different managers that I've been around and some of the characteristics that they've brought to the table that I think are pretty special. I bring up Terry Francona pretty often. He was my manager with the Boston Red Sox in 2004. And I remember looking down at him in the dugout, and he always had a smile for me, whether I was swinging the bat well or not. That stood out to me as something that was really important because just like we're all human beings, right? When we struggle, the first thing we look for is reassurance from somebody, anybody, that we're going to be okay. So to get that from my manager in that particular time was powerful. Another story, similarly, I was with Johnny Oates. I don't know how many people know who Johnny Oates was. Johnny was a manager for me with the Texas Rangers organization in 2000, 2001. And I was going into my second season. Went to spring training, had been traded for Juan Gonzalez in a big package deal. And I felt like I had a lot of pressure on me. And maybe I didn't, but I felt like I did. And my spring training was just awful. I had gone through 15 at-bats and hadn't struck one ball hard. And frankly, I felt very alone. Johnny was an older dude, but very warm. And he walked me out to right field. He put his arm around me, and he said, "Cap, you are my opening day right fielder, no matter what happens in spring training." And it was that reassurance in that moment that I desperately needed. So those are two things from my experiences playing that I'll probably bring to this clubhouse. You can bet that I'm going to find somebody this spring training and utilize that experience with.
Thank you, Austin. Austin from DeSales University. If you would just, when you ask the question, let us know where you're from, your name, and what college you're from. We have the microphone right here. Do you have a question?
Hi, my name is Janelle. I'm from Westchester University, and I just want to know, do you feel any pressure stepping into a team, trying to get them back to where they were with iconic players like Chase Utley and Ryan Howard?
Thanks, Janelle. Yes. I feel a ton of pressure. Every room that I've walked into, I've tried to say this, just like openly. I take this responsibility very seriously. And I can be a bit obsessive about it. I think about it all day long, every day. I go to sleep thinking about it. I wake up thinking about it. Sometimes I don't sleep because it's so important to me. But I mean, quite frankly, I don't think that's that dissimilar to a lot of the managers across baseball, to a lot of the general managers across baseball. Anybody that is responsible for a great number of people and their well-being, it's a big deal. So if you think about pressure, jobs are on the line with every decision that we make, right? All of the field staff that we brought in some ways, I mean, not always, but in a lot of ways, they're tied to me. So if I'm not performing, I'm not preparing, I'm not doing everything in my power, then I'm putting them at jeopardy. So I have a lot of teammates that I'm thinking about every day. Answer your question directly and succinctly. Yeah, I feel the pressure. Absolutely.
All right, we got a couple guys back here. Go ahead, stand on it. Right there, yay.
Hi, my name is Graham from Temple University. So I'm wondering, the best teams are ones that have great chemistry. So coming to a team where you really don't know anybody, how have you learned the players' personalities on an individual level and trying to create like a family-like atmosphere?
Really good question. I would love to ask questions about Temple, but we'll get there another time. So first way to create chemistry is to demonstrate care. Don Cockstein shared this with other people. Don Cockstein is director of sports psychology, and he's the director of sports psychology for both the Mavericks and the Rangers. And he has a Twitter feed, and his Twitter feed is called Think to Win. And he posted a tweet recently, coaches, in order to make a difference in the careers of your players, you don't have to be a brilliant strategist or phenomenal instructor of skill, just care. And ultimately, the way we create chemistry is to put somebody else's interests above our own. Because what happens in return is they step up and they want to fight for you. So chemistry is just kind of a nebulous way of saying loyalty. Like, I'm loyal to the man standing next to me, the man or the woman standing next to me. That happens across a baseball clubhouse, and you got chemistry.
All right, probably have time for one or two more. Go right here. Here comes the mic. Mary's got it for you.
Andy from Phillies College. So after you won the World Series with the Red Sox in '04, could you touch on the transition that happened when you went to Tokyo then?
Sure. In 2004, I was young, and I think I made a decision without considering every angle. As a young boy, I fantasized about Tokyo. I fantasized about Japan and about the culture of Japan. Things like being a ninja fascinated me at like 5, 6 years old. And that was my association with Japan. And I think, that sort of painted the way I thought about it as a grown-up. So I thought first about the culture. Hey, I'll go to Japan and I'll get on a train and I'll get off and see all these buildings and everything will be written in Japanese and have this really cool experience. But I didn't really focus on what I was going over there to do, which was to play baseball successfully. I also was thinking about it as a catalyst to get back to the United States and parlay that into an everyday job at the major league level. So the Red Sox had offered me a contract for 2005. It was a 1-year deal. Japan offered me a 2-year deal for essentially 2x the money. And then I saw this shiny cultural thing that I wanted to experience. So the aggregate of those two things was, let's go over there, let's collect the money, let's experience the culture, let's eat the food, let's get back to the United States. The United States, I'll parlay that into, I'll play great over there, so then I'll get an everyday job playing center field here. But what I failed to do was just get invested in being a good Tokyo Giant, a good Yomiuri Giant. For 1 full year, play well, and then see what happens, and really be present. Instead, I think I got focused on the wrong things. Does that help with the decision-making process, how I was thinking about it, my calculus? Cool.
Hi, I'm Quinn from Rider University. I'm curious how you plan to develop this culture of comfort as well as some kind of culture of accountability, I guess, for their performance both to you and to each other.
Okay, great. So I'll go back. Did everybody hear that question?
Use as we go forward into the upcoming season.
We've moved past Rookie of the Year. MVP is now our coach.
Thank you, Mark.
You're welcome.
Right.
Hi, Reese. I'm Tim Kelly. I'm a senior mass communications major at Bloomsburg University. You have a more analytically focused manager than you did a year ago, I think a lot of people would say. How do you feel about the idea of potentially hitting second in the lineup as opposed to traditionally hitting third or fourth?
I think as long as I get to step into the right-hander's batter's box 3 or 4 times a game, I don't really care where I hit. Just to put it bluntly. I'm open to anything really. It's there's a lot of information out there. You say analytics. I think the layman's term is just information. I think the one thing that Gabe has kind of stressed to us has been that things are going to be fluid, and just because you hit second or third or fourth one night doesn't mean it's going to be second or third or fourth the next night too. So, he's been really open with us. I'm excited no matter what. If I see my name on the lineup card, I'll be ready to go that night.
Okay, time for one more.
No pressure.
That's right.
My name is Dan Quidd. I'm an MBA candidate at Rutgers University. My question for you is, obviously, getting to the majors is a pretty difficult task. Getting to the minors is a pretty difficult task. Was there a moment or an age, a time when you were in college where all of a sudden it was like, wow, I can really do this?
Yeah, I guess my freshman year of college, I had 3 months of fall ball. Before that, just came on campus thinking I was hot stuff. Quickly failed. Just put it and it was probably the best thing for me. I didn't didn't start the first couple weekends when I was in college. I got an opportunity and kind of never looked back from there. I ended up being a freshman All-American, and that was kind of, like I said, my coach kind of instilled that thought process of learning about the mental side of the game. And that was really the first time where I'd seen results from focusing on that instead of just, trying to get by physically. So that was kind of a eureka moment, like, okay, maybe I can do this. And then, the confidence kind of just grew from there.
All right, one more. Greg Murphy, class of '93, St. Joseph's University.
Major.
English literature. Yeah, I was a reader. That's what I was. When do you head down to Clearwater? I know you have a couple more responsibilities this week as we go out and about and meet some of the fans, but when are you headed down, and can it get here fast enough for you?
No, it cannot, especially after spending some time in the cold of Philadelphia.
Yeah.
I'll be headed down right around February 1st, a couple weeks early. Just try to get as many reps as I can before we start. I'm excited. Obviously, there's a bit of a new position to learn or learn more about, and I couldn't be more excited about the opportunity.
Well, I know I speak for every Phillies fan to say that they are awfully excited to watch you for a full season next year. Reese Hoskins. All right, thank you very much. Order of business. Where's the ring? There you go. Where? Oh, right here. We're only in the second row. Oh boy, you'll get your turn. I promise. I promise. Okay. We're going to change our focus. There's been a couple of good questions about the world of baseball analytics, and we have two guys that really can answer any question that you might have about it. They have all this mind-boggling data that they're able to kind of put down into, I guess, simpler terms and put it out there and show why knowing this information is so very important, not only for our coaching staff and our players, but really for our fans, for our broadcasters, for everyone involved. That's the way baseball is trending for sure, and the Philadelphia Phillies hope to be right there in the forefront when it comes to baseball analytics. So please, welcome to the stage, Phillies Assistant General Manager, Ned Rice, who is coming up from the back, and Director of Baseball Research and Development, Andy Galdi, who's coming up in the back. We're going to have you guys sit. Ned, how are you? Andy, how are you?
Thank you.
Have a seat. All right, I'll start. You know the drill. Well, welcome, first of all, guys. You heard already, because I know you were in the back of the room, and so there's obviously this, I don't want to say buzz, because baseball analytics has been around for a long time, but it's become kind of a buzzword in baseball over the last 5, 7, 10 years, and I know you guys are right in the middle of it for the Phils. Just in layman's terms, why is it so important as we move baseball from the 2000s and 1s into the 2020s? I'll start.
Thank you all for not leaving after Reese left. It means a lot to us.
We're giving cookies away afterwards.
Not that we catch. The important thing for us when we're trying to make decisions, either for what players we're going to acquire or for the best ways to help the players we have now get better, is that we want to use all the information. Okay, so we didn't have much of a strong analytics department before, so that was a huge priority when we got here, when Matt got hired, and Andy got hired to lead that, and he can talk a lot about the steps he's taken. But there's so much information now; it can help you make so many intelligent, objective decisions. And if you're ignoring that, you're missing a huge piece of the pie. But we're also, and we talk a lot about analytics, and that's the purpose of this. But we're also not ignoring everything else. So we've hired 8 or 9 people in analytics in the last couple of years. We've also added 10 people in player development. We've added like 3 or 4 pro scouts. We've added like 7 international scouts. So we are definitely putting a huge emphasis on analytics, but we're trying to also make sure we stay pretty well-rounded as an organization.
God, Andy, can you expand on that? This is your world. This is what it's all about for you. So, tell these guys. First of all, how did you get involved, and why it is so important?
Sure. So, I think it kind of echoed what Reese said. I thought he put it well. It's like we were talking about analytics, statistics. If I want to sound impressive, I'll call it quantitative analysis. It's all information, right? It's not anybody information that we need to give to our players, to our coaches, to our scouts, just to help them do their job better. And I think that's why it's important. We're just a way to help people do what they're doing, what they're being paid to do, what they're experts at. Help them accomplish their goals maybe more efficiently or more completely than they could before.
We have 150 college students, graduate students in the room. I would imagine many of them would think to themselves, I think it's probably why they're here, hey, I would love to work in sports. I'd love to work in baseball. I'd love to work for a professional organization. Can you talk a little bit, Andy, we'll start with you, about how you found your way into this chair, and
Sure.
Was this always the goal for you? Was this what you were always looking for?
Yeah, I had kind of a winding road to the position. So I started at college. I was at the University of North Carolina in Chapel Hill. I finished there. I wanted to work in baseball. I knew that was what I really wanted to do at that time. And I got an opportunity to start working in baseball. I graduated in May. Didn't get an opportunity to start working in baseball until the following January. So it didn't work right out of school. I worked for the Mets. I was there for a year as an intern. At the end, there was no opportunity to stay full time with the Mets. I really liked it there. I would have stayed if they asked me to stay. They didn't ask me to stay. And so I left baseball. I worked for the NBA. Worked for the NBA for 2 years. I was doing referee statistics, kind of evaluating referees and their calling patterns. I really liked statistics. That's where I really knew for sure that's what I wanted to do with the rest of my life. The NBA then at that time was going through a labor dispute, the players and the owners. And then we're going to go into a lockout, and I kind of didn't want to stick around to find out what was going to happen to my job, so I went to grad school. And I went to grad school for statistics. I knew that's really what I wanted to do in any job, and I knew I wanted to get better at it. So I went to grad school, went to Stanford, was there for 2 years, getting a master's degree in statistics. After Stanford, I went to Google and worked there for about 3 years, mostly at YouTube, doing being a quantitative analyst there for YouTube and the product, and met a lot of really cool people and did a lot of really cool projects. Loved my time there, and at that time in my life, I was happy, really happy there. I remember coming out of North Carolina and being like, the only thing I want to do is work in baseball. And then now I was at YouTube, and I was like, I could stay here forever. I'm totally happy and content doing what I want to do. But the opportunity came up where the Phillies were starting this department. It was really exciting to me. Some connections, friends of friends to the Mets had gone to the Phillies. They had reached out to me, asked if I'd be interested in potentially doing this thing, and I thought it was an incredible opportunity, and decided to say, hey, take a risk and kind of come over. It was a great decision. Enjoyed my time here very much. So kind of in and out of sports, in and out of baseball, within sports, in tech, did a bunch of other stuff, internships along the way. So kind of winding.
Yeah, it's a pretty good lesson because, you might not step out of college and get that job that you're going to stay at forever, but I think you would both agree, and I certainly can attest to this as well. Every step along the way is going to help you get to the point that you really want to be eventually. You might not even know when you get there, or if you, I don't know, I feel like I've gotten there at this point, but I won a raffle to get my job, so that, that's how I got here. What about you, Ned? The assistant general manager at the Philadelphia Phillies. You've been in baseball for a long time.
Yeah, my story is less merit-based than Andy's. He tried the Stanford Masters in Google. So I worked right out of college. I wanted to work in baseball, so I applied for and got an unpaid internship in the fall with the Orioles, and it's easier to get one in the fall because all the college students who they're like had to go to college in the fall, so it was like the only person willing to take an unpaid job in the fall. But it's very much a story of like right place, right time, right? So I worked there for a while. They said, you're doing okay. Will you come back for $7 an hour? I said, okay, that sounds great. And you try to work hard, impress people, be likable. When you get a task, do a good job. eventually over time make yourself like fairly indispensable. That's probably too strong of a word, but and kind of different opportunities kept opening up. Like new leadership came in, they needed people to help with things. I was there, kind of knew the area, and got to gradually learn more and more responsibilities. Had great mentors, people that were really helpful, and acquired some more skills there. So I was with the Orioles for 10 years, and got the chance to come over here with the Phillies a couple of years ago, and it's been unbelievable. It's as you know well, Murph, it's a great organization, and it's really a wonderful place to work.
Okay, I'm going to open it up. All right, so we've got some questions. We go right there in the light blue. To start it off. Again, just name and college, major if you'd like, and fire away.
My name is Angelo Rosa. I'm from Newman University, and my major is sport management. Just a question for either of you guys. So when you're working with a player, I know launch angle and like exit velo is a big thing. Do you try to convince them or steer them in the right direction towards an ideal, kind of like good medium, like launch angle or velo, or do you kind of let them do what's best fit for them?
It's a great question. So we when we present information to players, we try to present it as information that we feel can help them. But we don't ever instruct a player to do something. We don't really feel like that's our place. So we'll say, I mean, this is their career, and they need to do what's best for them. So if we have a player, we might say, hey, we've noticed you have a great, your spin rate on your fastball is really high. You've been working down in the zone. You might be a lot more effective up in the zone. So we'll try to show them as opposed to tell them. So we'll say, hey, look, when you're down in the zone, you're getting hit like this. Middle, you're getting hit like this. Up, you're getting hit like this, which is you're pretty effective up there. So, you might have reasons for doing this, but we want you to think about possibly elevating your fastball more. We think it could really help you. And some of them are a little more guarded. Some of them are like, this is awesome. I had no idea. I'm thrilled to hear it. So I think how you bring the information to the player is important. They need to know that you have their back, that you want what's best for them in addition to what's best for the team. One thing we want to get better at, though, is that exact conversation. So we've hired a couple people. We hired Sam Fold, who played baseball at Stanford, played 8 years in the big leagues. So he's a really smart guy, understands the work that Andy Galdi is doing, but has like instant credibility with our players. And so he will be in charge of helping that discussion and going back and forth, kind of being a liaison and saying, hey, Andy, I've talked to the players, they really want this, and just having someone that's a little more comfortable for them to talk to. So the exact thing you're talking about is like something we spend a lot of time thinking about. So if Andy's doing the best work in the world and it's not translating to the players, then we're kind of wasting everybody's time. So we spend a lot of time thinking about implementation.
Okay, we have a question right here in the front, and Mary has a second mic, so if you get her attention, she'll hand that. We'll go dual mics.
Hi, I'm Michael Tromlin. I'm from the College of New Jersey. This whole season has been rather slow, especially with like big free agents and because of the luxury tax and the implications that has. Around this time, and do you think it'd be easier to make trades for some of the bigger name players like Cal McCutcheon and Garrett Cole just got traded, or do you think you could still strike luck on the free agent market?
Generally, or for the Phillies?
In general, or for the Phillies,
Yeah. Often when you have a lot of free agents available, it slows the trade market down because teams have alternatives to giving up talent. So you can say, hey, I want your 2 best prospects, and you'll say, well, I could just go spend money on this player here. This free agent market has been a little unusually slow. We've been surprised. I think Santana might still be the largest contract that's been given out. You guys are nodding, which makes me think that that's true, so that's good. But we're not really sure what the reason is for it. I think some of the things you said, maybe some of this particular big spenders, the luxury tax issues, they're trying to be careful. So we continue to monitor the market. We are in touch with all the possible trade targets to see if ever there's a price that makes sense. We're in talks with all the agents. I don't think we have super high expectations that something will make sense for us, but we're going to keep looking at both avenues.
Okay, I know the mic's over here, right? Yeah. Go ahead.
My name is Ken Hashima. I use Penn Bioengineering. How are you trying to assess the risk of the injury? I think that's kind of the area relatively untouched.
How do we assess injury risk?
That's the one.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a challenge. It's not an easy question. I wish I knew the answer to that. It's something that we look at quite a bit. We look at past players, see how they perform. We try. There's a lot of new data coming out, new wearable technology that can track certain aspects of a player's biomechanics, whether it be their range of motion or their physical fitness in some manner. And we're trying, I mean, the idea is trying to get a sense of if that information is actually predictive towards injury and a player actually missing time. So I'd say that field for baseball in particular, I think, is a little behind what some stuff I've seen in like the NBA. And I think that's because baseball is a little bit of a unique sport where it's not constant moving, jumping around, running around, but these guys are starting from stationary positions and then sprinting as fast as they can and then stopping. So collecting sweat or trying to get an idea of like their physical fitness may have different kind of benefits in baseball than maybe something like basketball. But it's a question that we're trying to figure out. I think the whole industry is trying to figure out. So if you have any ideas, talk to me afterwards.
All right, we got one. Hi, my name is Garrett Callahan. I go to Ithaca College in Ithaca, New York, and as a college baseball player myself, I was just wondering like why the trend of like your typical like you're looking for a guy who's hitting like 320, hits to all fields. Like why are we starting to trend towards the guys who's going to hit the ball at 470 feet, but he'll strike out like twice the amount of times that he has home runs?
Yeah, I mean, I think we're trying to get a good idea of what's kind of the most valuable towards like winning and scoring runs and creating a better chance for your team to win. So I think what we found, or what the industry kind of has found total, and this isn't like something unique to the Phillies, but maybe like extra base hits were a little undervalued for a while, and the detrimental value of a strikeout was a little overstated for a long time. And so teams were willing to sacrifice a few strikeouts for a little bit more extra base hit potential. And on the whole, they felt like they were going to be better off offensively. I think that's played out in the league as a whole in general. But the league as a whole, the league adjusts to these things over time. And these things have a tendency to be a little bit cyclical, as you see kind of going back. So I wouldn't be surprised if different skill sets end up being overvalued or undervalued, and things kind of shift a little bit as time goes by.
Okay.
Hi, my name is Josh, and I'm a student at the University of Maryland. My question for you guys is, I think I can speak for most of us in this room, being that we all are looking to work in sports one day in our futures. What would you guys say is the best piece of advice that you have received and that you can relate to us regarding getting involved in sports and working in sports and baseball specifically?
I'll start, and Andy can follow up. I think one of the most important things is you need the first opportunity. Okay, so there's kind of two questions: what can help you get that first opportunity, and then what can you do with yourself once you have it? So, in our field, Andy can talk about specifically R&D. We are very interested in high energy, positive people, but there's a lot of those too, right? So how do you differentiate yourself? We do find playing backgrounds appealing. The same thing we're talking about, how do you have the conversation with the players? Do you understand the goal of what we're doing? Playing background's appealing. It's not necessary, but it's helpful. If you don't have a playing background, maybe you worked with your college team and you were a manager or something, so you've been around players. You understand kind of what motivates them to some extent. And there's a lot of technical things he'll talk about that are really appealing to work in his department. Once you get there and have that opportunity, I think the most important thing is like I was talking about earlier, is you want to be likable. This is still a job. We come in every morning, 5 days a week, sometimes 7 days a week. A lot of the year, sometimes you're tired and you wouldn't mind a day off. So the people you see are your coworkers. If the intern that comes in is someone that you're like, oh, it's great to see Bill, or it's great to see Carrie, or whatever the name is, that really helps. I mean, that's a soft factor. When you get an assignment, do it the best you can, and that will make people want to give you more assignments. And the more things you do well, say we should really find a way to keep this person. And like Andy said, we can't keep every great intern, but you try really hard to keep the ones that do a great job.
Yeah, I agree with everything Ned said. As far as getting in and then kind of staying, I think, there's specific technical type things that we look for in R&D. I'd say like any hire that we make kind of falls into one of three, probably two of three buckets. One is someone who's got a real strong command of baseball, of current sabermetric thought, of the league, players in the league, strategies, what's going on as a whole. And the second bucket being people who are have a really strong understanding of statistics, of the method, the underpinnings behind a lot of statistical methods, whether it be machine learning or whatever might be the case, modeling in general. And then lastly, like people who are really, really good at programming, software development, computer science kind of in general. And usually the hires, it's incredibly competitive. It's much more competitive than when I got in. And I think it gets more and more competitive every year. I think that's pretty safe to say. So a lot of the hires that we bring on, interns, full-time people, tend to fit into two of those three buckets, and we try to kind of do that. I think my goal in creating the department is to create a department of people who, where if you give anybody a task, you are 100% sure that that task is going to be done to a really, really high level of quality. There's no, I mean, you guys have all worked in school projects and group projects, and there's a few people on the team who don't do anything, right? Or, if you ask them to do something, you're going to have to be over their shoulder and say, redo some of that work. There should be none of that on the team. I think we've done a really good job of creating a team atmosphere like that. And there's a lot of things that people do on my team here that I'm stunned at what happens, to be quite honest. It makes me want to work harder. I think it makes them want to work harder. So.
Okay, I think we have time for two more questions with these guys. So who has the mic over here? There we go, right there. Right.
Hi, I'm Luke. I'm a senior radio, TV, film major at Rome University. With the growing trend of analytics and just the sheer vast number of them, is there some that you guys value as far more important, or do you guys treat them all as equally important?
Like individual statistics, you mean?
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's so context dependent. Ned talked about approaching a player and saying maybe if we want to give them some information about if it's a pitcher, about how they might want to pitch, then we might focus on statistics that are relevant to that particular situation. There's not something that like one statistic that we say, hey, WAR is the greatest thing ever, and like every argument that we make is going to be framed around WAR. I mean, it might not be applicable. There really isn't one thing. It's about trying to help the process by which these players go about doing their job, and help them understand like what's the best way they can achieve success.
Before we get our final question, Ned, do me a favor, lean into your microphone and say real loudly, ring. Say that.
Ring? Anybody have the ring?
There we go. Okay.
Someone check to make sure that's actually the ring.
It is now just swapped for like some kind of mood ring.
You're going to get a ring back in the end, but I don't know.
Where's Deb? Will we have a chance for folks that didn't get a chance to take a picture with that right afterwards? So if you haven't gotten it yet, you desperately want to get a picture in the back after we're done with these guys here, okay? We have one final question. Who has the microphone? You're the winner. You're the winner. Final question.
Right. Daniel Yen from UPenn studying finance and statistics. So my question might be more towards Andy. Me personally have looked into baseball research and realized really frustratingly that I was competing with people from PhD backgrounds in math and computer science and maybe master from Stanford. So I'm wondering what kind of advice you would give for some undergrad. Me personally, I'm a senior undergraduate school. What kind of advice would you give for someone who has a long shot dream of, working in baseball research?
Sure. I mean, I think it's any way you can show your passion for this job, for the industry, and how you can think deeply about a topic. Yeah, it does stand out to us. I would always say, what always kind of stood out to me, like we see a lot of resumes and a lot of applicants, and somebody who might take a particular topic in baseball, apply what they know about statistics to it, really think deeply about it. Let's say, whatever it might be, projecting who's going to be a good player out of the draft, or some sort of in-game strategic thing about bullpen management or whatever might be the case. And not just do like a cursory kind of look at it or like a short kind of deal, but like really, really be invested and like really like show that this is something that this person really cares about, and they're gonna read all the relevant research that might be out there on it publicly or published in papers. Try their own methodology, play around with the data, not be afraid to learn a couple new things on the way. I think that really does stand out. It shows what you could become as an employee, even if like your skills at this point in time aren't quite where you hope them to be. But I know if you're someone who goes to those great lengths to accomplish a goal, that portends well to your kind of success.
We have some impressive grad programs on the resumes of people that work here, but we have some people that are like fairly self-taught.
Yeah,
like,
no doubt.
Or took a skill set and expanded on it.
Yeah.
So
Sweet, thank you.
Yeah.
So there's hope for us, guys like me. Well, not so
yeah,
much
I don't
me.
know.
Unless that raffle, if I get that raffle. All right, I'm told we have time for one more question, so throw your hands up. Here we go.
Hi, my name is Ezra from Moravian College, and my question has to do with the amount of analytics that are player-specific and then the amount that are how the players interact with one another. For instance, is there a certain reliever that has a good look that sets up the next reliever relative to the other ones? Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think, the complementary kind of skill sets and things like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's an interesting kind of topic about I know we have talked about that some with guys like Pat Neshek, like having different release points, having a guy with a different look. Is that beneficial in your bullpen, having him come out right after a different pitch? Almost everybody's kind of a different pitcher than him. But I don't know if there's any hard evidence that, hey, that is actually something that exists. But I don't doubt that it exists. I know it's something that people have talked about anecdotally.
And there's a lot of studies on pitch tunneling too. That's within the same person, but just at what point, how does two particular pitches that a pitcher has interact with each other? So are there certain sequences back to back that are going to be more effective based on where they look at a certain point, the distance from the hitter, where he has to make the decision to swing or not? So all this stuff is, I think still fairly new to us. We're getting so much more data and so many more tools that I think we're gonna be able to find out a lot of cool things in the coming years. Yeah, I hope so, right?
Yeah. There's a lot of ideas out there. It takes a lot of time to look through all of them and validate everything. So that's why we're always kind of looking for help.
Speaking of time, we have time for one more.
Yeah.
See what we're doing here? This is what we call in the TV business stretch. So that's what we're doing. We got time. Oh, we got a big surprise going on.
Well, not here yet. We'll give a more wordy answer.
Yeah, I'll filibuster.
My name is Alvin Rosado. I'm a civil engineering major at Lehigh University. My question for you guys is, so a lot of baseball players go on to play winter league, for example, in the Dominican Republic or like Venezuela, Puerto Rico, etc. How much attention do you guys pay to your players who go out and play in those leagues? For example, I know Michael Franco is in the DR right now. So if you guys could just talk about that.
Yeah, I think winter league can be really important. It's a balance because there's, Gabe talks a lot about the value of rest and recovery, right? So if you have a guy that's played every day for 6 months or he's just set a new career high in innings, we probably don't want him to pitch in winter leagues. We'd probably rather him use that time to rest. Winter league can be incredibly valuable for us for someone who maybe they had an injury or were a bench player a lot during the year and just didn't get a lot of reps. It's a chance for them in the offseason to catch up on some of the time they missed during the year. So it can be a super valuable place for us. We keep very careful tabs on everybody, guys who are playing winter leagues, but also guys who are not playing anywhere and are just working out. So we have our strength coaches are always in touch with the players. We do in-person visits. We have our scouts and front office people that are based out of the Dominican Republic or in Venezuela that are constantly checking in on the players, sometimes attending the games, reporting back. So we try to always be ahead of an issue. I mean, sometimes there'll be something that surprises you, but no, we try to keep a careful eye on them. They're an important part of our organization, and we want to know how they're doing all off season. If there's anything that we can help them with.
Still in bonus time. Who's got one?
Hey, my name is Adel from Florida State University. I just have a question on how you guys deal with the disparity that, for example, your scouting team may have with your R&D team about a specific statistic.
He came up from Florida to meet you guys.
Yeah, you deserve a question. A huge thing for us is building a culture where it's not an us versus them or one department versus another department. So we spent a lot of time trying to build the relationships first. So I think some of these like older school things where you hear about teams where it's the scouts hate the stats people, is you have your scouts are in one area, the stats people are churning out information over here. They never talk to each other, they never meet each other, and then they're just talking about how the other person doesn't know what they're doing. That is absolutely not the approach we take. So we place a huge value in our R&D group getting to know very well the rest of our organization. Andy has presented to every group in our organization. Andy we just had our amateur scouts in for 2 days. Andy was in the full set of meetings. Most of his staff was in the full set of meetings. They know each other well. When they do regional amateur scouting meetings, we have one of our R&D guys go fly there. When we have instructional league, we sent down every single one of our R&D guys to go spend 5 days, and they had no work assignment for the most part. It was just go hang out with the coaching staff, get to know them, have a beer with them, just build a relationship first. So I think people can be intimidated by things they don't know. So when we break the barrier down a little bit, if the scout now knows Andy, he knows he's not trying to embarrass him, he knows he's here to help, we're both on the same team to make the Phillies better, then you don't have that same animosity, you don't have any infighting. You might have a legitimate disagreement about something, but it's handled the way any disagreement would be between two friends. So I think it's an absolutely great point and a huge concern of ours that we spend a lot of time trying to build a culture that doesn't happen.
All right, Andy Galdi, Ned Rice, put your hands together. Thank you, guys. Okay, so these guys will be here for a couple minutes after we say goodnight. So if you have one or two specific questions, they do have to get out of here in about 5-10 minutes, so don't keep them too long. But that is our program. Hopefully you found a lot of useful information from our panel. They certainly have been where you've been before, as we said, and have made it to the point where they are now. And they are a wealth of information, so hopefully you're able to glean a little bit from them tonight. It certainly was a lot of fun having you guys here. Where is the ring at this point? We have the ring. So the ring will be in the back, okay, if you do want to get a picture with it. And we would also like your feedback. So listen up, Phillies.com/college survey. If you go on and complete that before you leave here tonight, right? You'll do that before you